Okay, so we're back, and this is the final bit of creating assets to add to your miniature house, which is made out of the corrugated cardboard. If you're here for the first time, I'll link the two other videos here in the bottom or at the end cutscene. The goal of this project is to have a seasonless colonial house miniature that sits on my mantle and warms up the mantle, gives it a little character, but each holiday or each season I can decorate it a little differently to give it a little bit of a narrative and a little bit of tradition added to the decor in this house. I was at Target the other day and I happened to find in the clearance aisle some really nice candles that I really like the scent of, but also a lot of small pumpkins that would look great with the house in a couple of different sizes. There was a $1 pumpkin that came in 6 different varieties and different colors. There was a $3 pumpkin that was a little bit bigger and that came in a couple varieties, some strange colors, but then there was a $5 pumpkin that was much larger and also came in fabric finishes. I opted for the $1 versions. I figured I would put one on each side of the house. I can't put them in front of the house because there's only an inch there, but I could technically cut them in half. I'm just not going to do that this year. I think they look fine the way they are. One thing that we need to execute first is the glass in the window and the mullions. And so what I did was I remeasured the inside of the windows and the window panes and then divided it up into a 12/12 window. So that means in the top half of the window, there's 12 panes, and in the bottom half of the window, there's 12 panes. Sometimes you'll see 12/1 and things like that. But from the houses that I looked at in my reference photos in Salem and other colonial houses, it seemed to be 12/12s. Now, if you recall, I've scaled up these windows anyways. So I made a little bit of a mistake here. I did not measure in far enough. So my window glass pieces are a little bit bigger than they should be. So the scale of my window panes are a little off and a little off centered. But here's the thing. I'm on a really tight budget with this one. I'm using inkjet transparency paper. So this is for your high school projectors and stuff like that. You run it through the inkjet printer, you print your images out on that, and then you can use it on the projector. It's a really flimsy paper-like material. It's clear and it has a textured edge, which gives it a little bit of a fog or a cloudiness to the glass. But I figure I can paint right on this. I can cut it really easy. I can glue it in very easy. And if I mess up, it's just another sheet of paper. When I make some more money and I have the budget to do it, I'm going to go buy myself a sheet of Lexan or plexiglass and cut from there. That will be more rigid and solid. It will be harder to cut, but the finished piece will look less flimsy and will have less warps in it. Now, something to consider with that is that actually glass of that time period is warped and wobbly, and that's because it was blown by hand and there were inconsistencies in the finish. They never had a perfect finish on them. For the front door, I thought originally I was going to do a Regency or a colonial type front door like you see in Williamsburg, but as I looked more into it, and since I have already stated that the house is going to be very casual and for more of a standard family size from that time period, when I was discussing the chimney and things like that, I realized that not many people had these front doors with all the molding in them and the detail. A lot of people just had vertical slat woods as their front door, and specifically in the Salem house that's famous that we all know of, that is the case. So I opted to just do something on a white piece of cardboard that I had originally cut out from the door hole. And what I did here was I cut a frame around that door piece. When I did that, if I glue that door frame into the inside of my door, it puts my door pretty much flush to the space where I cut it out. But I want more depth there. So what you'll see is I added another layer of cardboard in front of the door frame to push the front door even further back. So the entryway now has a lot of dimension. And the only thing that I'm really considering at this point is maybe adding more dimension to the 2 stairs on the front porch, but I'm not sure I'm going to do that. It looks really good. But I do love how far back the door is set back from the front facade. The other thing here is on the white gessoed paint, I knew that watercolor was not going to settle well or absorb into that gesso. So I went ahead and used a blue watercolor over Sharpie marker lines to create a wood grain like texture. Now this would have been painted, it wouldn't have been stained, so I'm not going for that look. But I do think that my paint streak lends itself to feeling a lot more matte finish and a lot more like painted wood. And I think I achieved that nicely. The door is a lot more matte finish than the rest of the house, and that's because my artist paints have a bit of an eggshell finish. You may want to hit your house with a matte finish sealant if you are, wanting it to be matte finish. Just do that before you put your glass panes in the window and take it outside. If you remember from some of my older videos, I did paper marbling, and I did it in a lot of very retro and fun colors from the company called Marabou, I believe, and the product is called Easy Marble. I went ahead and measured out the back side of my house, and then I push pinned 2 marbled pieces of paper to the back wall of my mantle so that when you looked into my house, you see marbled paper. I thought that was a little psychedelic and a little bit Halloween, and then come holiday for Christmas and stuff like that, I'll be able to change it to something gold or something more interesting, but it does give it an interesting effect. Now I ran over to Target and they were pretty much out of all of the Halloween decor that I wanted, but they did have in their Christmas workshop purple string light. So I went ahead and grabbed 2 strings of those and took paper clips, unbent the paper clips so they made a hook, stuck the hook in the top of the corrugated cardboard at the roof, and strung my lights from those hooks. I then took a piece of extra cardboard and cut out a ghost-like figure to stand in the window. It's not that successful. It doesn't look that good, but I think overall it looks Halloween-like. It looks a little more funky than Halloween lights, so you might want to opt for red lights if you're going to do something kind of scary. Also, the other thing to consider is that red lights, anything is brighter than a purple light. So any color you opt for other than purple and like blue is going to have a lot more bright effect on your interior of your house. So I kind of lost it there in the light department, but I definitely know now what to get the next time. Secondly, I used incandescent, and they just really are not as bright as the LEDs, which is kind of interesting because it used to be the other way around. But so yeah, I pushed the door in. I'm keeping the door closed in the final piece, and that's about it. I don't have much more to tell you guys. There's little spiders that I can tape to it and stuff like that, but I'll wait and see if I want to do that. But here's the final piece, and I hope you guys like it. Thanks so much for watching.